if you have an idea, if you want to do something, you want to try something new, you all say, oh, I've always thought about doing that. Just do it. Just do it. Like, if anything, the worst case scenario is it doesn't work out, but you can lay your head to bed at night and be like, man, that didn't work out, but it was fun trying. Hey gang, welcome back to the channel. My name is Shan Otare. I am a breakthrough mindset coach that helps you to reflect and accept your past so that you can reframe your future. I essentially build badasses and I help you to really see who your authentic self is and help you to get to the places that you're trying to get. I get here on YouTube once a week and help you in small little itsy bitsy ways to achieve the little dreams that you're looking for in your life. And this week I'm going to be talking about how to write a book. If you saw me last week, you saw me talk about my first book that I just released, but now I want to talk to you. Why do you want to write a book? How do you write a book? I've been getting so many questions. Shan, love the book. Shan, I'm so inspired. I've always wanted to write a book. So let's jump in and talk about that stuff today. All right, gang, so you want to write a book, all right? Do it. Number one, first of all, if you have the urge to do something like that, to leave some type of legacy, some kind of footprint, some kind of way to tell whatever story it is that you want to tell, do it. The logistics will show itself in the process anyway. But if you have that desire to do it, my simple answer is just do it. Even if it's just starting with taking a few hours or a few minutes and putting your ideas down, that's what you got to do. I mean, I know for me, I have like tons of notes on my phone where I just totally, an idea comes to my head, I drop it. I have a special note that's like book titles, book subjects, and then I have quotes that I save and all these different types of things, and I save it in here because the ideas hit me at different times. It hits me when I'm in the shower, it hits me when I'm driving, it hits me when I put on my makeup, hits me when I put it on my skin routine, hits me when I'm reading, hits me when I'm not even supposed to be thinking about it, and it hits me. And so my habit has been, as soon as it hits me, I drop it straight into the notes where I can come back to it when I finally do sit down and try to gather my thoughts and try to put them together strategically. I can go back to that note and be like, oh yes, that's what I want to talk about. Because for me, all I need is a simple prompt and I can write a whole bunch of things. But if I'm just trying to come up with some original ideas, sometimes it really is hard to create that area where I'm just like so creative and have all these thoughts. But if I have a little prompt that's set off by a little idea that I saved in my phone from, something that sparked to me in passing, I can at least return to that and be able to be like, oh, that's right. Yeah, I want to write about that. Now I can think about everything. So the first thing is to think of and save all your ideas that you have. Now, of course, I wrote a non-fictional book, which is a true story about my life and how I raised my kids. But this also goes true for fictional books. I've never written a fictional book, but the idea is that you're saving your ideas. A lot of people are having all these creative ideas, don't really have an outlet, don't really have a life that allows them to create the space. Maybe you're a busy mom, right? Or you have a full-time job and a part-time job and a family, right? Like, when are you going to have time to write? So it's in those little small pockets of times when you're looking at that note, you're dropping that in. I must have like 30 names of news articles that I'm going to be writing for some magazines here. And I don't have them written at all. I have all the prompts for what the titles are going to be. And that's going to be enough for me to do that. So my first thing is get the ideas someplace, whether it's on a piece of paper, a notebook, in your phone, save your ideas. The second thing I want to tell you to do is don't be afraid of the process. Now, I will say I paid to help my book get published simply because I didn't have the time, nor did I want the stress of knowing what step to take next. All right, so I did pay for my publisher to help me with the different steps. I wrote everything. I facilitated everything, but they said, okay, well, now you need to do this next. You need to get this to us. They gave us timelines. They gave me all these things that kept me moving. I had to do the work, but they really provided that timeline for me so that I could complete it. So knowing yourself best, do you work best alone? If so, then you don't need to hire somebody or you don't need to get that. There are a lot of free things like Amazon ebooks. Like, you can totally do that without all that help. There is a lot more pieces to it, then I would want to learn. And back then when I was writing it, I didn't actually have the time in my former job to be doing all that extra stuff, nor did I want the added stress of what it would take for me to learn something new in order to do it. I'm like, nah, I'll just pay you, right, to do that for me. And it was a wonderful experience for me to learn as I went through it. And it's really kind of encouraged me to write more books down the line. So that's number 2. Number 3, I would have you think about what you want to write about. I really recommend the subject matter be important to you, right? Even if it's a fictional story, it can be a fictional story, but that the subject matter is so real and important to you that you could spend lots of time, hours, even days, just thinking and writing about it in a way that is going to keep you writing. Right? You don't want something that's just like interests you a little to where like if you get bored, you get distracted very easily, that you're going to get pulled off in another direction. It has to be that compelling and that interesting. And for me, my parenting style and the stories that came from that was compelling enough to be like, oh yeah, I got to tell that story. Oh yeah, this one too. You know, like that's how I felt as I was writing. I was like, oh my God, there's more coming out. Like that's the feeling that you want to be writing in when you're writing. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't have that feeling that you can't be writing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when you really want to find your zone, those are the type of subjects that you're going to want to do. Something that just really makes you always want to be writing more about it. Number 4, if you want to write a book, is to not worry about knowing how to write. All right. I personally am a writer in that I enjoy the actual act of writing. I have a journal which I've shared with you folks many times on the page, but like this is my journal that I'm going to leave behind. But I like the act of writing. Like I write in script, cursive. You know, I know maybe my grandkids, my kids probably won't even be able to read it, but the point is, like, I enjoy that artistic, that whatever that is, that artistic motion, I don't know what the word is, of actually writing. I also love words, and so how to string words together for me is a little bit of a challenge, and I love challenges. And it's also a great way for me to challenge myself on how to incorporate new words and build new vocabulary. And so I just love that part of me because I really have a curious part of my brain that just wants to always be learning. And so writing allows me to help doing that. Reading, but also writing helps me to do that. So if you feel like I'm not a writer, but I have a story to tell, that's fine. You could do things like get a ghostwriter. You can hire someone to do the writing for you. I'm not sure how you would pass it on. I've never used the ghostwriter, but I know they exist. They write for you. Another thing is you can just write it as you think it. And then, like for me, I sent it to my editing I have an editor. I had an editor before I got with my publisher. She's in London, and I never met her. I hired her through an editor's website, and I was able to, pick one. Finally landed on her after some interviews, and worked with her for the first draft of the book. And she was great. She really said, okay, well, this doesn't cut it, or like, here, you need to change this. I was really worried that I was going to hand my stuff over to her and she was going to be like, I can't help you. Like, that was one of my fears. Like, I felt like my writing was so bad. But she gave me like one of, I feel, the best compliments. And she says, I've never met you. And, she said she liked the take on the book that I had, the subject matter. But she says, even though I've never met you, I feel like I can hear your voice. Your voice comes through in your writing. And I feel if you can have your voice come through in your writing, no matter what you're writing about, the message will get relayed. Fictional or non-fictional, it will come across because you want to be able to write in a way that you talk. It is very boring to read from a textbook. I'm sure you can all agree with me on that. And so being able to read in a way that you're having a conversation or write in a way that you're having a conversation with someone makes it so much more interesting for the reader. And then lastly, if you don't want to write but you have a story to tell, you could record yourself and make it into an audiobook. I mean, that's an option too. Most times people will have an actual written book before they do the audiobook, but who says you can just transcribe it all and just read it back to yourself, however you want to do it. I know for me, the book came out. I am actually in setting up the stages of getting a studio so that I can do the audio part of my book, so that audio version can be out there as well. I'm so excited to tell the story in my voice and for people to hear it in my voice. So it's an exciting next part of the book that I'm really thrilled to be doing. And these are just a few things that that can answer some of the questions that I've been getting from a lot of people. I'm like, oh, Shan, I want to write a book. Like, what do I want to do? Like, they immediately get overwhelmed. And I can tell you right now, I was overwhelmed with the process. I mean, it took me, I would say, 5 years from when I wrote the first word, about 5 years ago, 3 years from when I really started setting time aside once a month, maybe renting a cabin here and there to just like go take a weekend for myself to write, 3 years, and maybe a year and a half of actually actively, I already had the draft by the time I went to work with the publisher. So in the year and a half working with the publisher, it probably could have went a lot faster, but I was transitioning from jobs. I was starting a new career. I was doing a lot of other things, just as probably you have going on in your life. So the point is, in the last year and a half is when a lot of the work to actually get it to here done. This book was written like maybe 3 years ago, but the actual refining of it and getting it into my hands, into your hands, took the last year and a half. It's not a, like really quick process. I believe I've heard that people said that you can do it really quickly just doing ebooks. I kind of want to try that just to see, like, number one, how easy is it? And number two, is that something that I might want to consider trying? Because, hey, if it's easy and I can still get the message across, why the hell not? And that is the overall message I want to share with you. If you have an idea, if you want to do something, you want to try something new, you all say, oh, I've always thought about doing that. Just do it. Just do it. Like, if anything, the worst case scenario is it doesn't work out, but you can lay your head to bed at night and be like, man, that didn't work out, but it was fun trying. I'm glad I looked behind that rock. I'm glad I tried that little thing, right? Rather than living with regret and like, getting older and be like, man, I always want to write a book. Now I really don't have the time for doing that. Give yourself the gift, give yourself the permission to go ahead and do that. Even if it takes 2 to 5 minutes out of your day to just make small little steps to get there, you can do it. So I hope these little tips help you folks in your journey on writing your book, if that's something that you want to do. And I hope it answers the questions for those of you who have been asking me what the process is for writing a book. So I look forward to sharing more with you. I'm going to be sharing some more snippets, a little bit on the book, and getting back into some regular content as these next weeks come up. And I just hope that you continue to visit. If you haven't, make sure you click on the link to subscribe. We hit 100 subscribers in the last couple of weeks, so yay! Like, YouTube is a slow growth platform, but you know what, I'm kind of about it. I want to get to know people. I feel like people come back, they watch, right? And they're getting to know me even though I can't see you. You're getting to know me, and it's a slow thing. It's like a relationship. It doesn't just happen fast. A real strong foundationally relationship takes a long time, and that's kind of, even though the growth hasn't been super fast, I'm actually super excited that it is slow, because my OG subscribers, all you folks out there, thank you, by the way, we're growing this relationship together. So I'm excited to share more with you folks and look forward to seeing you folks next week. Until then, guys, you keep evolving. Take care. Bye.